All right, so let's check this out. Google says Bristol cone chip could grant quantum computing. Quantum supremacy will soon be ours, says Google as it reveals 72 qubit dot dot dot. Let's go to that. Let's go to the dot dot dot. Quantum supremacy. Oh, you ruined my whole 9 yards that I was going to go for there. Quantum supremacy will soon be ours, says Google as it reveals 72 qubit quantum chip. Don't panic. Supremacy is the point at which quantum kit trumps classical computers. Oh. Okay. Google scientist Marissa Guistina installs a Bristol cone chip. Oh. Let's take a look at the Bristol cone. What do you got going on over there, Marissa? All right, Google reckons it's on the cusp of demonstrating quantum supremacy with the development of a 72 qubit processor. Quantum supremacy refers to the point at which a quantum computer should outperform a classical computer without incurring the performance costs of error correction, as described in this 2016 paper. There's a link. I'll leave the link. Google demonstrated a 9-qubit design in 2014, published in Nature in 2015, and Julian Kelly, a research scientist at the company's Quantum AI Lab, explained that the previous experiment hit 1% readout error rates, 0.1% error for single qubit gates, and 0.6% error for 2 qubit gates. 62 qubit design, dubbed Bristol cone, aims to preserve the underlying physics of its predecessor, scaling up the same scheme for coupling, control, and readout. The new device doesn't quite achieve quantum supremacy. Rather, it's a testbed for research into error rates and scalability, as well as applications into quantum simulation, optimization, and machine learning. So let's scale it back on that and read what's really going on with that. So we have quantum simulation, optimization, and machine learning. So a lot of these artificial worlds that they're creating, a lot of these virtual worlds. We have machine learning, which is artificial intelligence, quantum simulation, optimization, and machine learning. However, the post hinted that the processor might be the platform that outperforms a classical computer. We are cautiously optimistic that quantum supremacy can be achieved with Bristol cone. Magento? I thought they said Magneto. All right. Another important characteristic of a 72-qubit machine, as illustrated in the image below, is that it's still within reach of a classical computer simulation, which is currently the only way to validate both the quantum computer is operating correctly, since you can cross-check the answers, and that it achieves an upspeed over classical computers. So let's look at this. What do we got here? I'll be honest with you. I really don't know what I'm looking at there. Kelly's post drew attention to the need to validate a quantum computer's operation against a simulator, adding that Google's developed a suitable benchmarking tool. And there's double quotes. We can assign a single system error by applying random quantum circuits to the device and checking the sampled output distribution against a classical simulation. Bristol cone would also, Kelly wrote, help Google's boffins develop quantum algorithms on actual hardware. All right, so that was a very technical article. Very, very technical. Let's see what we can get with perhaps CNET. All right, Google says Bristlecone chip could ignite quantum computing. Google's quantum computing effort takes a big step forward, and the company thinks a prototype could outdo conventional machines in some tasks. It says. So there we have the chip right there, Bristlecone. Just, the single box. Just like the, that machine that's like an alien god. What is it, D-Wave? Kind of reminiscent of the D-Wave, just a, single cube. Bristlecone quantum computing chip. Google has a quantum computer chip called Bristlecone, and the company thinks it'll outdo the classic computers that are totally silicon's processor designs. Using today's silicon processor design, quantum computers, which stand to revolutionize at least part of the computing industry, if anybody can ever figure out how to get them working, are benefiting from heavy investments at Google, IBM, Microsoft, Intel, D-Wave. Oh, very, very, very funny how they had that D-Wave in there. It's the same type of thing I was saying. And others. Google detailed some of its plans Monday in a blog post about Bristlecone. For one thing, Google research scientist Julian Kelly said the Bristlecone quantum computing chip has at least 72 qubits, the weird memory cells that endow quantum computers with their ability to store an immensely wide range of combinations of ones and zeros. For another, it should be able to outdo Google's earlier 9-qubit device, which comes to the essential technology of quantum error correction, which is key to keeping hypersensitive qubits from getting perturbed. We are cautiously optimistic that quantum supremacy can be achieved with Bristlecone, she said, referring to the point at which a quantum computer can outpace a classical machine. Conventional computer chip designs are running out of steam. With dwindling performance improvements and increasing difficulty when it comes to delivering next-generation designs, quantum computing is one ray of hope for the industry, though it's not yet clear how hard engineering and programming such chips will be or exactly what computing tasks they'll be good for. But one analyst firm, Communications Industry Researchers, thinks quantum computing is mature enough to declare it big business in the future. CIR estimates quantum computing revenue will increase from $1.9 billion in 2023 to $8 billion by 2027. So they're already giving us future numbers here. Some adventurous companies have signed up. Samsung, Daimler, Honda, JP Morgan Chase, and Barclays became IBM quantum computing customers. In 2017, through even customers are to some degree participating in research projects with today's quantum computing maturity. Quantum computers rely on the hard-to-grasp physics rules that prevail at very small scales. One phenomenon, called superposition, means that a single qubit can simultaneously be in two states, 1 and 0, and that group of linked qubits can quickly outpace conventional computing bits. A collection of 8 conventional bits, for example, can store a single one of the 256 possible combinations of ones and zeros. 8 qubits, though, can store all 256 at the same time. That architecture, good for simultaneously evaluating many possibilities, at least in principle, is famously well suited to cracking today's encryption technology. But that's not likely to be quantum computing's big breakthrough, in part because researchers are working on quantum-proof encryption algorithms. Google believes. A lot of belief in this article, don't you think? Instead, quantum computing will be good for physics and chemistry simulations. Oh, impossible with classical computers. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And are useful for developing new drugs, solar panels, and other materials. Financial services companies, too, will be able to use quantum computing to manage investment portfolios. And closer to Google's own wheelhouse, quantum computing could be good for artificial intelligence cores like self-driving cars, optimizing warehouse operations, or setting e-commerce product prices. Blockchain decoded. CNET looks at tech powering Bitcoin and soon, too, a myriad of services that will change your life. Fair enough, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. So I covered the Bristol cone, right? I covered the Bristol cone. I covered the quantum computing and the qubits and the whole 9 yards.